Councilmember Rutherford and Councilmember Sepulveda. I think there are others that are going to join us, but a couple who aren't. All right, we don't have anybody on signed up for public comment, correct? And I've got a consent agenda that's basically all the resolutions. I'll read through them and let me know if any need to be pulled off. RS 2025-1681, a resolution urging the Tennessee General Assembly to support House Bill 1444 to increase criminal penalties for aggravated animal cruelty convictions by Bradford, Johnston, and others. RS 2025-1682, a resolution honoring the life of Carlos DeFord Bailey by Porterfield Stiles and others. RS 2025-1683, a resolution remembering the tragedy at the Magdeburg Christmas Market and affirming solidarity with our sister city, Magdeburg, Germany, by Alan Bradford and others. RS 2025-1684, a resolution honoring the 100th anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry, sponsors Greg Stiles and others. And last, RS 2025-1685, a resolution recognizing Purity Dairy's 100th anniversary by Vo Stiles and others. Any of those need to be removed?
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? We approve the consent agenda. All right, and then next is a board and commission election of the Transportation Licensing Commission. Consideration of nominee to fill one vacancy on the commission for a term expiring October 20th, 2027, with an election to be conducted at the December 4th council meeting, and that is Keri Rogers. That is, we did the interview last meeting. Can I move approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Any against? Any not voting? We support 4-0 to 0. All right, and now we have late items. We have a late filed amendment to 2025-1007 by Alan.
Let me see if I can find her.
Okay.
And Arnold.
It is an ordinance amending chapter 17.04, 17.08, 17.12, 17.16, and 17.36 of the Metropolitan Code to amend the regulations pertaining to accessory buildings, detached accessory dwelling units, and the detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district. Councilmember Allen, we are on your late filed amendment to 2025-1007. Can you speak to it?
Yes.
And the late filed nature?
Yes, so I timely filed an amendment that reverted back to the existing conditions for day dues today and used the language that is there, and then got a call from the planning staff that says, through this process, we have worked very hard to be more specific about where heights are measured from, and that language is in the new bill. It's in Councilmember Johnston's amendment, and we would very much like to have that in your amendment. And I said, that's fine, that's not part of what I'm doing. And so that late filed amendment simply adds the words, as measured from average grade, because planning has worked very hard to get that consistently in everything that they do. And so I agreed to add that language at their request, but that didn't come up until they had seen the amendment that I had filed in a timely fashion.
Okay. I understand, and I know in my district, the issue of where to measure from has come up, and at times there were inconsistencies. So I think I understand where that's coming from. All right, any questions for Councilmember Allen?
Councilmember Allen, could you, and for folks who might be watching, aside from the addition of this language, could you walk through sort of bullet points on this particular amendment?
Sure, so the timely filed amendment, which is different, simply takes the size of day dues, detached accessory dwelling units, back to what is currently in the code, which is 700 square feet of living space and the 750 square foot footprint on smaller lots and 1,000 square foot footprint on smaller ones. So that was to deal with concerns that we've heard from constituents, just with regard to ensuring that these remain affordable.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are we ready to, can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Did you vote? Okay. 5 to 0 to 0. All right, next we have a late filed amendment to 2025-1007 from Gadd. I have a wet letter to withdraw, so we will withdraw that. All right, and now I have a late filed amendment to 2025-1007 from Johnston. It's an ordinance amending chapter 17.04, 17.08, 17.12, 17.16, and 17.36 of the Metropolitan Code to amend the regulations pertaining to accessory buildings, detached accessory dwelling units, and the detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district. My understanding is you are signed on.
Well, I will
to-
sign on. I
Okay.
haven't just yet. That is my intent.
But the the amendment sponsor asked you to speak to it?
Yes,
Okay, which,
and I'm happy to do that.
okay,
If you were in the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting yesterday, this matter was taken up in terms of it being a separate amendment. That was discovered during that discussion that it was in error because it related to the number of dadus allowable, where the previous amendment was written to basically not allow them, and that was not the intent. So the sponsor, Councilmember Johnston, announced her intent to withdraw that amendment on the committee floor yesterday, and this amendment was filed to replace it with the proper language, essentially. So we're addressing the late filed nature, and that's the reason for the late filed nature.
okay.
And then,
Sorry, say that again? It wasn't her intent?
It wasn't her, it was the original amendment that was heard in Planning and Zoning yesterday was in error, and that was discovered when that amendment was being debated. So she just stopped and announced her intent to withdraw that amendment, and instead has filed this amendment in its place, which basically corrects the language, because it was written in a way to essentially disallow dadus, and that was not her intent. The intent, as written, is to put some limitations on dadus, but not to disallow them. Yeah. So that's the reason for the late filed nature.
And it changes the overlay, what's allowed in an overlay, what you have to have, like it's minimum 5 contiguous lots.
Right.
So you can't do, for an overlay, you can't do like 1 or 2 lots, you have to have at least 5.
That's my understanding, but again, we're addressing the late filed nature here.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? We have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor of the late filed amendment by Johnston?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now we are to our board and commission appointees and nominees. You should have a packet of their submissions and resumes. The first one I've got is for the Contract and Compliance Board. Consideration of nominees to fill 1 vacancy on the board for a term expiring on October 15th, 2026, with an election to be conducted at the December 16th, 2025 council meeting. Looks like we've got 2 nominees, and the first is Emma Boyd Elliott. Emma, we need to get you a chair here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the Contract and Compliance Board and what you like what goals you might have on there?
Absolutely. My name, again, Emma Elliott. I've been in Nashville really on and off since about 2006 when I moved down here to come to Lipscomb. I am an attorney. I graduated from Georgetown Law with my law degree, and I have my master's in public administration from Memphis as well. I'm very interested in government service. I've worked for the United States Senate as well as local legal departments and the District of Columbia offices as well. My background is primarily in the private practice of law. I've worked on labor issues as well as a number of issues involving real property, contracts, and compliance. Again, after law school, I really thought I'd go into public service and was really only enticed away from that to work for a firm that focused on affordable housing development. And in that role, I worked on those projects, also managed administrative complaints, as well as advised public boards on a number of issues, including procurement, public contracting issues. So I do believe I'm very qualified to serve on this board. Again, I'm endorsed by the Central Labor Council, so I've worked on labor issues as well. But again, I also represent contractors. I've worked construction cases, and I do litigation, arbitration. I feel that I have a good understanding of the area and that I can fairly review these contracts. In speaking to some of my goals for the board, I know that right now it's a fairly new board and there's a lot of development there with the safety plans and how those will work. I'd love to be a part of the formation of those plans and work with the board to determine what's proper there. I understand also there's a subcommittee focusing on complaints and how to process those. Again, I've handled a number of complaints, both working with public bodies on how to handle those things, and also as an attorney representing complainants myself. And really, I think my main goal would be accountability. I know that we really put folks through a lot when they're going through the procurement process to get these bids, and we should, because the contract that they enter into is a promise with the body politic. And so after that, I'm certainly interested in continuing some of that oversight and making sure it's accountable and work sites on Metro projects are safe for workers.
That's good. Committee members? Yes?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to speak on Emma. So Emma, thank you for your willingness to serve on this board. As many of y'all know, we worked on this legislation for a very long time to create this board. Nashville is one of the most dangerous cities to work in construction in the South, and we still have quite a ways to go to get this board off the ground, and we just got our bylaws done, and we are in the process of creating processes. And I think that Emma's expertise will, be very useful, and her background in law will help us move this process along. It has taken quite a bit of time to get it off the ground. It took quite a bit of time to hire the executive director. So we just had our executive director hired not too long ago. We're going through the process of creating parameters as to how a complaint is handled, how inspections will be handled. And so I believe that Emma will be great in that position of lending her expertise and having that letter from the president of the Central Labor Council also says a lot as far as Emma's experience in her field. So I can't say enough as to how much Emma would do well on this board.
Thank you for that. All right, anyone else?
But briefly, Chair. First, thank you so much for being willing to put yourself forward for this. I guess so. Understanding that you've got a full-time practice that you're doing, one of the things that I think we've all had a mind towards this term is making sure that we're selecting folks who have the bandwidth of the capacity to fulfill the time commitments and everything. And so, given all that you're already doing, do you feel like you'll be able to meet the time commitment, attend the board meetings, and things like that?
Thank you, Councilmember Prepti. No, it's a very important question for such an important project. I hope none of my former employers are listening. I was in the kind of the law firm life, right out of my federal clerkship. And I left after about 5 years in there because my life was a bit out of balance in that way. And so now I'm able to, running my own practice, I'm able to take on cases that are important to me. Again, issues that are important, working for smaller businesses that I could at the law firm. And again, one of the things I felt kind of missing is that government service element. And so when I saw this position come open and was, again, just very honored to be nominated and endorsed for this position, this really does scratch that itch for me to serve the public again. And so I'm very committed to the role. I'm very excited to be a part of forming this board and doing what needs to be done on the board, as well as any subcommittees that would be appropriate for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5-0. Also, to you and to everyone, I'm afraid I don't have WeGo cards tonight, but we have parking passes, parking
thank you.
validations for the garage. If you would like one of those.
I'll take one.
If I forget to ask anyone else, y'all remember to grab one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have, Stuart Huffman for the same board, the Contract and Compliance Board. Welcome, sir. Again, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to serve and would be a benefit to the Contract and Compliance Board.
All right. My name is Stuart Huffman. I live in Goodlettsville. For the past 20 years, I have devoted myself to helping people. For about 10 years, I was in private practice, handling probate and personal injury issues. Probate was helping a lot of families get through some tough times. Then I had a chance to go to UAW Legal down in Spring Hill to represent UAW workers, GM plant. And then later on I went to a financial company, but then this last previous few, probably 7 years, 8 years, I was a disciplinary attorney and board attorney for the Board of Licensing Contractors and also Architects and Engineers. So based on my background with complaints, with standard of operation procedures and developing all that with the boards, I believe that I would be a great asset to this board. I've got a lot of experience with complaints and procedures. I've written some of those procedures for the state. We have a lot of rules and statutes that I have helped with policies. And then also just based on some of the things that I've done in the past with helping workers and keeping contractors accountable to pay their workers. We have a lot of complaints that would come in with subcontractors not getting paid. And we would have to handle those complaints and then talk to the contractors. And there was a lot of that happening, especially after COVID, when costs were going up and they weren't getting enough money for for their projects. And so those few years, there was just nothing but dealing with the payment applications and the Prompt Pay Act and getting contractors to pay their workers. And then there was a lot of work that was going away, so these workers were trying to find jobs. And so I saw that struggle, and now I'm trying to help home improvement contractors make sure that they are doing, that they are able to get licensed like they're supposed to, because we had an influx of these home improvement contractors who do jobs that are $3,000 or less, but because of costs going up, those contractors $5,000, $6,000, and they should have been licensed. And so we were having to file complaints against them, and they were just struggling trying to work and pay their subcontractors. So now I'm trying to help them make sure that they're doing everything proper, so that they can make more money and pay the workers. And so, and then also I helped a friend of mine with a auto financial company as general counsel. And so I've done a lot of work with our employees. I deal with EEOC issues, and so there's a lot of things that I've done in the past that I think that I'd bring a great asset for this board.
And if Councilman Prepty doesn't mind me borrowing his question, do you feel, like we asked Ms. Elliott, do you feel like you have the time to commit to this? I know, sometimes in our boards and commissions, there are meetings, I think there was one today, where they didn't meet quorum because of lack of attendance. Do you have the time to commit to attending these meetings and doing the work?
I have a lot more time these days than I used to. I was also a city commissioner for Goodlettsville for 4 years, 2020 to 2024, and I never missed a meeting. So I'm the only commissioner that never missed a meeting, so I'd like to say that. But also, I am on the Parks and Rec Board at Goodlettsville, and also the chairman of Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
But they would not, those meetings would not hinder anything.
The scheduling is, you've checked to see the scheduling is different.
Right.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
You stole mine, so.
Sorry.
It was that good.
I was thinking about before, but all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's vote on the nomination of Stuart Huffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5-0 to 0. Thank you, sir. Don't forget the parks pass if you need one.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Human Relations Commission. We've got the consideration of nominees to fill one vacancy on the commission for a term expiring on April 18th, 2028, with an election to be conducted at the December 16th, 2025 council meeting. And we have one nominee here, Carey Adams. Carey Adams, come on up.
How are you all?
Good, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the Human Relations Commission and what you might do to make it even better.
Okay. I'm Carey Adams. I'm a resident of East Nashville. And I've had what I consider the privilege of working my entire life in either political or nonprofit arenas. And I've been able to work my values, basically. I've been fortunate in that way, and there are lots of interests that I have, lots of causes, lots of things that I see as unjust and inequitable that I would like to be working to improve, if that's possible. I'm currently on a few different boards for organizations that I support the work of. And from what I have been able to glean from videos that I've watched, from a review of agendas, from speaking to a few friends of mine who are on the commission currently, the work that they are doing, is incredibly impactful and speaks to me. And I believe that I would have the ability to contribute. I know when to listen and when to speak, and there's a lot that I would need to, there's a lot that I can learn from all of the amazing people who are currently on the commission, and I would take the time to learn and be educated, and then I know that I would be an asset. I am currently the incoming chair of an organization called Civic Tennessee, and we do education, advocacy, and access for folks who are often disenfranchised, left out, left behind, and I feel like especially the work that I've been doing with Civic Tennessee over the last few years has really set me up to be able to see opportunities and be a contributing member, and hopefully make Nashville more equitable, make government more equitable, make the city, make our neighborhoods. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So,
Yes, it would.
yeah.
Thank you. Committee members? Councilmember Spokes?
Thank you for your willingness to serve. You said that there are certain things that you would like to contribute, and just hoping you could expand on that a little bit.
I am a very analytical thinker. I am a process person. Usually if I'm dragged into a project, it's because people want structure. They want me to wrangle the cats, and, you know, and I can see a process. And I know that government is already structured, but the way that my mind thinks, it is about process, about ways to use the process to affect change. I also have a lot of energy and interest, and want to learn and want to be a resource for people, and to be knowledgeable about things that people could do to affect change in their own lives. And I feel like the Human Relations Commission is the best fit for my skill sets, which are really administrative. I mean, I've always been a worker bee. I'm always yes to committees. I'm always yes to, I don't overcommit. Do not do that. I have 3 teen daughters. I have a life, but I work hard for the things that I have committed to because I believe in their importance. So I'm not sure if that answered your question. I feel like I'm running for office.
You are.
Kind of.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee?
That was my second question.
Huh?
That was my second question.
Okay. All right, ready to vote? All in favor of Keri Adams for the Human Relation Commission? Aye, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting?
Thank you.
5 to 0 to 0.
It's my honor.
Thank you.
Truly. And
All right.
thank you for your service.
Next, we have, for the Community Review Board, the appointment of John B. Schrader for a term expiring October 31st, 2028.
Hi.
Schrader?
Yep.
Come on up.
And my first name is John, but I go by Ben, my middle name.
Ben?
So, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, tell us a little, this is an appointment, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on the Community Review Board, what you might hope to accomplish in your term.
Sure. Ben Schrader. I am from Florida originally. I went to law school here at Vanderbilt. I graduated in 2009. I clerked for a federal district judge in Knoxville, and then joined the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. in 2010. I worked there for about 5 years, prosecuting mostly street crime in the Superior Court Division, although I also spent some time in the National Security Section there, so working pretty closely with police officers, with crime victims and witnesses to crimes. I joined the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Nashville in 2015, and spent most of my time on what we call the blue-collar side of the house, so that's gun and drug offenses, drug trafficking offenses, prosecuting complex conspiracy cases and racketeering cases. I served a couple of roles in the office. One is the National Security Prosecutor, essentially for the office, handling sort of major incident cases like the Christmas Day bombing here in Nashville was my case. I also served in a supervisory capacity in the office in a couple of different respects. First is the deputy chief over the organized crime section, supervising complex prosecutions, and then most recently as the chief of the criminal division, where I supervised all of the criminal prosecutors in our office. I I left the office in May of this year. I've been in public service essentially for my entire career. I'm joining Bass, Berry & Sims as a partner in January, so I'm going to try something a little different now. But I will tell you, just to sort of answer your question about time commitment, I had asked the firm about this opportunity and was encouraged by folks to do this. So I expect that I will have the time to do it, and plan to devote the time to do it. So that's sort of one piece to the answer, is a sort of, I think, a demonstrated commitment and interest in public service. I'd like to be able to continue to do that in some way. And then I would say also, I think I have relevant experience for what this board does in particular, because one of the jobs that we have as prosecutors is disclosing what we call impeachment information or giglio information. Sometimes that is essentially derogatory information about police officer witnesses. So I have reviewed police officer personnel files to determine essentially whether we have an obligation to turn that material over or not. I've also, of course, in preparing cases, met with many police officers, many crime victims, to sort of assess credibility to prepare cases for trial. So I think I've got, as I say, sort of the interest in terms of the sort of public service background, and then also I think relevant experience for what it is the board actually does.
I'm going to steal somebody else's question. Vice Chair Evans isn't here,
Sure.
but sometimes she asks, have you watched or been to any of the community review board meetings?
I've seen snippets of the community review board meetings. I've not been in person, and I've not watched a full one, but I've sort of seen snippets of it. I used to appear before Judge Brown. I think he's one of the members, so sort of recognize some faces on the board.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So again, thank you for your willingness to serve on this particular board, because I do think that you'll be an asset. But one of the things that, I mean, let me back up. So our community review board is relatively new-ish, having to have been reconstituted after some state legislation. One of the issues that I know that the Community Review Board has run into is that even with having a memorandum of understanding between MNPD and the CRB, there's still some struggle in getting access to the materials that are necessary for you all to do the functions of the board. And so I guess I'm just a little curious, given your background, if you have any insight on how you would try and navigate some of those difficulties, and if you would have any kind of recommendations for the board moving forward, and sort of like what you want to achieve. Compound question, but yeah.
Sure, and I guess I haven't joined the board yet, so it's a little hard to know exactly how to answer that question at this stage. But I will say this, in my role, particularly as chief of the criminal division, I interfaced pretty regularly with leadership at MNPD. Obviously worked with a bunch of sort of local police officers as well. So I know what it's like to engage with MNPD and MNPD leadership to try to sort of accomplish, a particular mission. So, I think I would sort of draw on that on one level. I think that it might be helpful too to have someone who has been a former prosecutor, who's sort of, dealt in that role, who has had to acquire evidence, let's say, from MNPD to build a criminal case. And so, here, like, part of the goal here, I think, is to try to get at the truth of these issues. And so, you have a complaint that has been made. There are a lot of resources you can draw on now to figure out kind of what the truth is, and that includes body camera footage, dash cam video, reports, interviews, those kinds of things. So I would think that MNPD shares the same goal and sort of trying to get to the truth, and part of getting there is being transparent and forthcoming when it comes to providing the information that we need to make those decisions effectively.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if we're ready to vote on the appointment of Ben Schrader for a term expiring October 31st, 2028 to the Community Review Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Get the parking pass if you need one.
I'll take it.
All right, oops, I put that in the wrong place. All right, next we have the Community Review Board appointment of Taniesha Westbrook for a term expiring October 31st, 2028.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for being here and being willing to serve. Share a little bit about yourself and, excuse me, what you'd like to accomplish on the Community Review Board.
I am Taniesha Westbrook. I am a graduate from Tennessee State University with a degree in accounting. I am a community builder, and I spent most of my time before jumping into community building. I worked as a financial analyst in corporate finance and the banking industry. And about 7 years ago, I took the leap of faith into entrepreneurship and started something called Shop Black Fest. And over the last 7 years, I've worked with over 4,000 micro and small businesses in 13 cities. And so most of my work is in the intersection of creating safe community spaces, communications, and really focusing on things like economic inclusion. And what was the second
About
part?
the Community Review Board specifically, why your interest, or what do you think you'd like, what are some goals you might have? Or
Well, my number one goal for my term with Community Review Board is to really focus on building community trust. You mentioned earlier that this board is relatively new. So there are two parts from my perspective that we should be focusing on. One part is the community aspect, and the other part is the relationship with MNPD. And so my goal is to really focus on building those relationships, but also infrastructure. And so my background is really in, I like to say I put the medicine in the candy, so I'm really great at building relationships, but using data to make very sound decisions. So through my work as a financial analyst and as a founder, I'm really great at recognizing patterns, and I think that I'll be a great asset to the board when it comes to accountability, transparency, and really focusing on building those relationships.
any other council members, committee members? Questions?
Just a question about time commitment and being able to have the bandwidth to be able to attend the meetings and make work and all those things.
From my understanding, that there are monthly meetings, and because I am a founder, I have a bit more flexibility than someone with the 9 to 5. And so I am excited to jump in, and I'm sure that I'll have the capacity to be an asset to the board.
Councilmember Sepulveda.
Thank you, Chair. Have you ever attended or watched any of the meetings?
I have not attended in person, but I did watch the last 2 months of the meetings in full. So I do have some context of at least those last few months.
Councilmember Cobb, did you, okay. All right, anyone else? All right, we're ready to vote on Taniesha Westbrook for the Community Review Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5 to 0 to 0. There's a parking pass. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, next we got the Equalization Board appointment of Bruce Pierce for a term expiring November 18th, 2027. Welcome. Oh, come on up. Welcome, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you.
Thank you for being willing to serve. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on the Equalization Board. You've heard some of the kind of other questions that we've been asking, if you want to chime in on those in anticipation.
How well they did. Well, my entire career has been in property taxes, representing corporations. I was a corporate department head for some 40 years already, several different industries. And we were responsible for property tax compliance, rendering returns, meeting with assessors, reviewing assessments, and also going before appeal boards. And I was about as active as could be. I took every course I could, appraisal courses, including those with the Appraisal Association of America, where you get the MEI designation. And I couldn't get that because I was not full-time, but I was very active in the International Association of Assessing Officers that county assessors are usually members of, go to their conferences, to discuss valuations, procedures, and changing legislation and that sort. And then the corporations formed their organization to parallel that back in the 70s, and I was an early member of that for some, well over 30 years. And 8 years of that, I was on their board, 4 years as an officer. And, you know, we stress, of course, ethics, valuation techniques, legislation changes, and a number of legal matters and things. So I've done just about all that I could, like say for 42 years now. I've always, and I was friends with a lot of assessors and Equalization board members, and I heard all of the issues they have and was amused by it. And since property taxes, not quite like income tax or even sales taxes, it's ambiguous, you know, because of the valuation and things like that. And it takes a certain amount of tolerance. We never found a solid accountant that was good in property tax, or vice versa. You know, so it's a unique thing. It's hard to even sell to corporations, the importance of it. But I worked on legislation. I was committee chairman for like Chamber of Commerce, business associations, and things of that sort. And actually, in some states like Arkansas, I helped develop their valuation schedule for personal property and things of that sort. So it's been a full career, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And I was also a member of the American Tax Association. There was 6 people, 2 state, 2 academic, and 2 corporate. And we all said it's all about fairness. Everybody wants to see, you know, just what's fair. And so I'm committed to that.
Thank you. Committee members? Yes.
More of a statement than a question. I see Mr. Pierce as a District 31 constituent, and I'm just really glad to see someone from the district coming forward to serve, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I retired here because of grandkids 11 years ago. And I'm from North Mississippi, and so help me, I say it over and over. If I'd have just known more about Nashville, I'd have just come up here and figured out how to get a job. It's a wonderful area, and so many people like it. It's fun to say I'm from Nashville.
Great. Thanks. Anyone else? All right, ready to vote on the appointment of Bruce Pierce to the Equalization Board for term expiring November 18th, 2027. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5-0 to 0. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
I didn't tell you, like, we'll be voting, the council, full council will be voting at the next meeting on all these appointments. And you're welcome to come to that. You're welcome to watch, or it's your call. All right. For the Hospital Authority, the appointment of Dr. Courtney Pitts for a term expiring September 6th, 2026. Hello, Dr. Pitts.
Hi.
Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the Hospital Authority Board?
Yes, my name is Dr. Courtney Pitts. I'm a resident of Nashville for almost 20 years, so maybe I have graduated from the transplant group. I have served the residents of Nashville for more than 16 years as an advanced practice registered nurse, more specifically a nurse practitioner. I am a nurse at heart because you have to be a registered nurse to be an APRN. I have served in long-term health care. I actually trained in Metro General for my NP, so it's kind of like full circle. I've served those living with HIV for more than 10 years, and I finally stepped away from that role probably in April and transitioned into a more walk-in care clinic. Also, in addition to that experience, I have served in the academic setting, training nurse practitioners for over 15 years, preparing them to work in primary care, rural and underserved areas. My national experience includes serving on the National Advisory Council for Nursing Education and Practice, which was an appointment by the Secretary of Health, Xavier Becerra. I just finished that appointment in September. I also served on the National League for Nursing Public Policy Committee, where we address issues across all levels of nursing, from entry all the way to terminal degrees, practice, clinical settings, as well as the academic setting. And I also serve on the Tennessee Government Affairs Committee of the American Nurses Association here, that covers the residents of the state of Tennessee, where we address nursing staffing issues, APRN issues, mental health, and how it impacts nursing. So that is the breadth of my experience as it pertains to national experience and regional and local. I wanted to bring my experience here to the local level because even though I have that organizational and that public policy experience on the national level, it takes years to see that impact. And I feel that serving in this role, I can have a more direct impact on the people that I serve and have served for almost 20 years.
That's impressive. Thank you. Any other council members?
Yes, just want to say a couple of things first. Dr. Pitts, thank you not only for your willingness to serve on the hospital authority, but what you've done up to this point. I think that Dr. Pitts' 17-page resume speaks for itself.
I'm sorry.
Yes, no, do not apologize. And I also feel like Dr. Pitts is being very humble about her qualifications and ability to serve. In the area of community and public health, I genuinely could not think of anybody better to fill this particular appointment. So, yeah, you've got my full-throated support. So, yeah.
Councilmember Sepulveda.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Pitts, for your willingness to serve. I have a very specific question. And we are going through a very interesting, difficult time in our country at the moment, in which you will be, if approved, you would be overseeing some of the policies for Metro General. Not too long ago, we had an incident in which two people who were detained in the ICE facility were taken to Metro General. Names weren't released. We don't know if their families were informed. They would not give their names to us. And they said that it was due to them being detained by law enforcement. They were treated like if they were detained by essentially MMPD, right? In your opinion, what policy do you believe Metro General should have in regards to the hospital authority to make sure that people who are detained, when their families aren't informed, or are there any policies you think should be in place? We know that based on reporting, there have been people who have been abused, even murdered in ICE detention facilities. No one is taken to the hospital unless they are in a very bad state. And people are worried. I am worried. We weren't able to verify to see if even their families were notified. So my question to you is, in your opinion, what do you believe the hospital authority policy should be in those regards?
So I will say, first off, what I believe personally is that
healthcare is a right and not a privilege. And so no matter what someone's status is, they should be able to receive care. I will say that first. Second, if there are no policies in place, we do need to work with general counsel to see what we can do. What are our legal rights? Because we have issues with nurses being on the front line who are protecting those patients and are at risk of also having themselves detained because they are defending persons on the unit who cannot get the care that they need. So we need to look at what we have in place first. If we can enhance it, not only to protect the patients, but also the frontline workers, so your nurses, your physical therapists, your physicians, everybody that comes into contact. Because it's not just simply about the person, it's also about the frontline team who is protecting the person. Because for us as providers, that is what we signed up for, to protect every person that walks in the door, to provide quality care based on standards. So I'm not really sure what policies they have now, but we do need to work with general counsel to make sure that when our frontline people step up, that we can make sure that families are informed, because when we look at our workforce, one of the issues is what happens, what's the repercussion of me taking this action to make sure that this person gets the care that they need, that we inform the families. So I would say we would have to take a holistic approach to making sure that we're covering everybody in the policy. So one, does one exist? Two, can we enhance it? Because that's a hard question to ask because of the legal implications. So we would definitely need our legal counsel present to help us know what can and cannot be done and how to prepare for it, because I'm all about being proactive. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are we ready to vote? All in favor of Dr. Courtney Pitts for the Hospital Authority? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 5-0 to 0. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And next time.
All right, last interview for the Board of Zoning Appeals, the appointment of John Glassmeyer for a term expiring February 26, 2027. Mr. Glassmeyer.
Move a 1 meeting deferral.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any not voting? We deferred the interview and appointment of John Glassmeyer for a term expiring February 26, 2027. All right, and I didn't miss any. You here for an interview?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Williams for Davidson County Historian.
Oh.
I don't have on my agenda.
Council, do you?
I don't believe we have an interview on the agenda tonight for Davidson County Historian.
I called the clerk about 4 o'clock, well, about 3 o'clock. She said I needed to be here at 4.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I called the clerk about 3 o'clock today. She said I needed to be here at 4.
Okay, you're not on our agenda.
I'll go talk to the clerk.
Okay. All right, we're gonna, if it's all right, we're gonna put a pin in this while he checks.
Quick question.
Yes.
Would we have the ability to conduct it anyway for, the
And
interview
I
itself?
think that's a question for our lawyer. I would like if we had that authority, since he's here.
Yeah.
But let's go to the rule of procedure,
We still have agenda item 17.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yep, for the board and commission confirmations that we interviewed last time, I'll do these together. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission appointment of M. Chris Weinman for a term expiring March 24th, 2027. and the Human Relations Commission appointment of Katie Feldhouse-Jackson for a term expiring July 22nd, 2028. All those in favor of these appointments?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? I guess I should have asked if I need to pull any separately, but we're good with that, right?
Yeah.
All right. And I did the other one, I did Kerry Rogers.
Yeah, you already did that.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now let's go to the rule change. It's amendment to Rules of Procedure, Rule 29. We did, this was introduced last time and was deferred. One meeting, is this the rule?
Unfortunately, sir, I believe you will be on the next agenda. There was some confusion in the clerk's office,
Okay.
and we apologize for any mistake, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll be on the agenda.
Apologies. I am excited that you're nominated for that position, and we definitely look forward to talking with you about it and asking you questions and hearing your answers. But it sounds like there was a kerfuffle or mix-up as to when, so it needs to be, since he's here, we can't, it needs to be on the agenda.
Yeah, that was my
Yes,
question.
it would need to be properly noticed, yes.
Okay. All right.
Would you still like a parking validation?
Yes, please, yes.
Take all of them.
Yeah, we can do that much.
Thank you for being here. I'm sorry about that.
When will y'all meet again?
The 16th, is it the?
Yes,
Tuesday
Tuesday
Tuesday the
at 16.
16th, yes.
All right.
And I don't know exactly what time we'll start, but usually it's around 5, but it might be a little before, a little after, somewhere in there. We'll make sure you know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll work to put you first on the agenda as well.
Yes, yes, that too. All right, so the amendment of Rules of Procedure, Rule 29, that was on our agenda last time, but we, of course, deferred by rule.
I've got copies if you'd like them.
Yes, thank you.
And this is Councilmember Spain, Committee Member Spain is the sponsor. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was gonna, try to read it to you by memory, so I'm glad we have this in front of us. We sort of started this conversation at the last meeting, and I'm happy to speak about it in whatever level of detail you'd like. Basically, obviously, this conversation is taking place against the backdrop of the larger conversation we're having about planning and zoning and housing and infrastructure issues across the city. One of the concerns that we've heard during public hearing 2 meetings ago when the housing and infrastructure study bills were on second reading was from constituents who felt like their voices weren't heard in the regular rezoning process, that even though they recognize that some of the bills that we're talking about don't change the zoning of their property automatically, that they would have to go through the regular zoning process to make any changes, that they wouldn't have the ability to be a part of that conversation and express their wishes in that process going forward. So the intent of this rule is to recognize that concern and hopefully address it to some extent by saying if there is a large-scale rezone, which is 25 parcels or more or 10 or more acres, to which all of the property owners are not signed on to the request. So it means you're trying to rezone someone's property without them asking for it. Or a zoning text amendment. So anything that could change the base zoning of someone's property without them asking for it. There would be an automatic 60-day deferral after first reading for thorough consideration and community input. It's not necessarily a huge change from what happens now. It's not unusual for someone to bring something like this to council on first reading and defer it for some matter of time to be able to have these conversations. But folks have to pay attention. They have to know it's on first reading and find out, are they going to defer it? Are they going to defer it 1 meeting, 3 meetings, 2 months, 3 months? This would hopefully provide some level of predictability to the process to say, when this happens, there will be this 60-day window that we can have these conversations and be heard. It doesn't intend to dictate the process. I think all of us probably do these things a little bit differently. It doesn't say you have to have X number of community meetings or any of that sort of thing. It just gives space for those conversations to happen.
although there's, didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
But
that's
I guess there's kind of an expectation, there's not a mandate, but there's kind of an would you say that there's kind of an expectation of at least some kind of dialogue, if not a community meeting, that's the purpose?
Yes, absolutely. But it's just to give space for that process to take place.
And also, did you, as you were thinking about this, did you consider, like, why, I guess I want to ask, why a rule change rather than a change to the code? Just
I suppose you could do it that way, and, I mean, there are some, you'll hear amendments later tonight about something similar to this, but that would relate only to certain types of rezoning requests, and that didn't seem like an appropriate way to go about it. To me, it seems like if we're going to do it, we ought to treat all of these types of things, up zones, down zones, whatever, regardless of the zoning category, the same. So that's why I chose to do it this way.
And help me out with the math here, somebody. So if it's 60 days, do we know that that's going to be typically the same number of meetings? Like, rather than, why did you do 60 days rather than like 4 meetings or 3 meetings or?
That was the recommendation of the planning department.
Okay. 60 days gonna be for sure, like if it's introduced on like January 1st, does that mean 60 days is definitely gonna be the first meeting of March? Is it gonna be, do we know if the math? It feels like that, if that were also predictable, that would be good, but I would expect it's gonna be about the same, right?
I think it's going to be close, but I don't know.
And my understanding is the, like, public hearing can be set, and the notices for the public hearing can be mailed. This I guess this is different from anything planning does, I guess, but it doesn't mean that it's going to delay notification or
The notice.
create an error.
Planning notice is separate from the council.
Fair.
Rezoning.
Okay.
That's it, right?
That's my hope, and that's something I'm talking to planning about. Because right now, they typically send out a joint notice that says the public hearing for the planning commission is on this date, and the public hearing for the council will be on this date. So what I'd like for them to do is separate that out and do a second notice after first reading to say, 60 days from now, this public hearing is going to take place. This is the time to engage in this conversation. So that when we get to second reading and public hearing, we don't have all these folks showing up saying, we don't know anything about this, we need to defer it for another, 60 days or whatever.
Any other questions?
I guess my comment is districts are so different, right? And council members do this process differently since their districts are so different. Some districts, you have the neighborhood associations that conduct the community meetings because there are so many rezonings going on all the time, right? And so it's a faster process. Some community meetings are held by the council members, like bi-monthly. Some hold it virtually. Some we don't have that many rezonings because, like, for example, my district, almost all of it has already been built out. We are so dense at this point. And most of us have quite a few community meetings before rezoning, plus we have the public hearing at the zoning meetings, at the planning meetings, and then we have the public hearing at the council meeting. I just don't see the need to have another automatic deferral for 60 days when we have already this entire process where I just don't see where most of our colleagues don't have community meetings.
If I may, I'm certainly not suggesting that they don't. This is, and keep in mind that this only applies to a small subset of items. We're talking about large-scale rezonings or text amendments that people aren't a party to the request. So their property is being rezoned without them asking for it. And like I said, it's not to say that anyone's not doing what they should be doing or that they have to do a specific XYZ process. It's just giving room for that process to happen. And specifically giving the public the reassurance that there will be that time for their engagement. And if for some reason, they've had public meetings ahead of time and everyone's in agreement and it's all ready to go, we can always suspend the rule.
I guess I'm curious as to some of the functionalities with this as well, because like whenever we're talking about like large-scale rezones where folks aren't necessarily signed on to the legislation, I know by and large for larger neighborhood rezones, so like I know I've got a couple of areas that had downzoned back in the early 2000s, and that was something that the neighborhood had technically signed on to, but as far as the legislation goes, they didn't sign on to it because it's an application that the council member made themselves. Similar by example, right now I've got some legislation coming forward on a historic zoning overlay, and again, that's an application that I submitted on behalf of the neighborhood, but their names don't show up on the legislation as having like signed on to it. So I guess my concern here is even whenever there is a zoning related ordinance coming through that the neighborhood has signed on to, that this could potentially result in a significant delay that they might not necessarily want to incur. So that's sort of trying to conceptually think about how it's operating. That's sort of where I'm at, and one of the concerns that I have, because I hear you very loud and clear as to what this is seeking to address, and I think it's a reasoned and measured approach to address that particular concern. But I'm just trying to think of how it's going to affect things moving forward in practice.
I've handled a number of rezonings, both large scale and small. None, though, were ones that the owners were not asking for, which is what this pertains to. But the correlation I want to make is that, and the ones that I have handled, I can't recall one that didn't involve a deferral at some point along the line in the process. And when I look at that from the standpoint of, well, what if any of those involved property where the owners had not asked for it, it would seem like to me that building in this deferral would be advantageous to those who own the property. And then furthermore, it seems like that the only ones who might not really want this to be built in would be the development community. So it seems like this would really favor those who own property more so than anyone else. So I strongly support it.
When in talking with staff, either council or planning, were you given any sort of number or percentage of like? You were talking about how frequently this would impact legislation. Did they give you any sense of like a percentage or how frequently or say this will happen like every month or?
They didn't give me that level of specificity. They did recommend those numbers of 25 parcels or 10 acres as a way that would be kind of the right threshold. If it were less than that, we'd be catching too much, and if more, maybe not enough. So that's where those numbers came from. But they didn't give me an idea of how many that would result in. No.
And it's either one of those two things. If it hits either one of those, that would trigger. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All right. Are we ready to vote? All in favor of the rule change to Rule 29, say aye.
Aye.
And any against? Any not voting? So that's 4 in favor, 0 against, 1 not voting. Is that correct? All right. And thank you. And last we have an amendment that we will have to defer, but we can ask, see if we want to talk about it at all. The amendment to Rules of Procedure, Rule 9.3, I think it is in here. Is it?
It's the following page.
Second page.
No, I'm sorry. And it relates to being able to pull items off first reading.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got too many papers. Does anybody want to discuss it, or we want to just look over it for next meeting? Yes.
Does anybody know offhand what the process is now if you want to abstain on something on first reading? I guess that's what we're trying to
I
address.
thought it was pretty close to this.
I think you can let the vice mayor know that you're abstaining, but it would be to the entirety of everything, like on the consent agenda and first reading. But I'm also not our legal counsel. So
I can speak on the rule if you'd like, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, currently the rule allows all ordinances on first reading to be considered with one vote. An ordinance can be pulled off either at the request of the sponsor, or if two or more members request the ordinance be considered separately. What this amendment would do would add a third condition, which is if a member seeks to abstain on an ordinance, that you would not need two members to sign on for that purpose. It would just be one.
Okay, that makes sense. And is there some difference? I felt like I looked at it and there was some difference in like maybe right now you have to say it to the vice mayor in the meeting, and this broadens it. I feel like there was something that.
I'm going to look at the original rule to compare, but I believe the language is similar.
Maybe I had it backwards.
The current language does not have much. The current language does not distinguish when that notification has to take place.
Okay. But we are to defer this by rule, unless there's any other comment or question. All right, we'll talk more about that next time. If we pass this deferral motion, well, I guess we don't have to.
it's deferred.
It's automatic. All right. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry for not being in here earlier. We found out this afternoon that Mr. Glassmeyer is not going to be able to serve on the BZA. That's why he's not here, and we look forward to finding another board for him to serve on.
Move for reconsideration. Or
Second.
can we?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And so, is there a new motion?
Yeah, move to withdraw.
You can withdraw if you'd like. That can be a vote, or it can just say that
All right.
you can just withdraw.
All right.
We'll just sit there. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. That's fine with me. All right. Thank you for letting us know. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn. Thank you all.